Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod, along with Mauricio Ruiz and gloriously back in the booth with us here at Gemstone Media, Tony Allegretti. I'm Cole Pepper, and we are ready today to tackle some very chewy topics in the world of soccer, including Emma Hayes' debut, what we learned about the U.S. women's national team with the new manager on the sidelines. We're looking ahead to the Copa America. Could the U.S. contend with the big boys from South America? And remembering Dennis Violett, who had a major impact on the soccer community in Jacksonville. That's coming up. A reminder, we are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated, with locations in San Marco and Jacks Beach. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times. All right, let's jump in and start with this. And that is, as we have mentioned, the Premier League is heading to Everbank Stadium July the 27th, where Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham United will compete for the Stateside Cup. Tickets on sale now. Stay tuned. We'll have a special ticket deal for Sporting Jacks members. Wanted to get that out there in advance of saying that Wolves actually had a little, they had a bad defeat. When you lose 19-1, gentlemen, it is not a good result, but that's exactly what happened with Wolves. They were the only team to vote for scrapping VAR in the Premier League. 19-1, the final tally there. 14 of the 20 clubs were needed to back Wolves' motion for it to pass and for VAR to be removed from English football with immediate effect. And that was sort of the nuclear option. But they did agree on 6 action points for the implementation of VAR, and I want to get both of your inputs and your takes on these things. Largely, the concern was that it's taking it away from the flow of soccer, and there are too many missed calls even with it that are changing the experience for fans and outcomes for teams. So, number one, they agreed to maintain a high threshold for VAR intervention to deliver greater consistency and fewer interruptions to the flow of the game. Now, Tony, as an Everton fan, you are used to interruptions in the flow of the game. But
yeah, as an Everton fan, I know better than to get excited about any rule changes or anything.
Yes.
Because we don't get calls. We don't look at the number of penalties that we got last couple years. It's atrocious. Everything's against us. This doesn't matter. At least there's no kick-ins.
You're saying it doesn't matter. Okay, Mauricio, your thoughts on this? Has VAR interrupted the game too much?
I think it has, but it's new. So every time you add and implement something new, a new strategy to improve things, there's always a process of it. And obviously, this is a big interruption into the game. And I don't think anyone is claiming that VAR is perfect by any means. And maybe it never will be perfect. It still has humans involved in it, and humans are anything but that. But there are some criteria that they're looking to investigate how to make it better: less interruptions, more transparency, more education and training. Now, the one that I really like is the offside technology that already is in play, for that to be much quicker and more automated rather than have to wait as long as it currently has. And I know they're working on the technology to be much more, more
similar to the goal line technology that they use, or what you'll see at Wimbledon with tennis, with the ball in and out, sort of that same level of quick return technology.
Yeah, I think so. And one thing that they improved on this past year is
Hawkeye. Sorry to interrupt. Is that Hawkeye? Is it when the ball goes over the
I think
line?
that's what they call it.
Yeah. Well, the part of the body offsides, I think it's something that still needs clarity on, right? Sometimes I see the arm in front, the whole body, and the shoulder. I think they've determined that any part of the body that could score a goal is considered to be offsides. I think if your head is slightly offsides, but your body, I think that's part of the game, part of the offsides VAR, offside regulation that I would like to see some more clarity and improvement on. If a knee is slightly in front, the body's not really in front. Are they getting an advantage because a small member of the body is there? I don't know. So I'm all for improvement of VAR. I don't have a problem with it. I actually think it will set us backwards if we remove the VAR. But how long is it going to take? And
I think your point is good, Mauricio, too, on there's still humans, behind VAR, so there's still going to be mistakes because we clearly saw a bunch of them, probably far less than if there was no VAR. One of the things that I would like to sort of highlight the human piece of it is when I love it when they release the audio.
Yeah, this is exactly. I was going to go to that's the transparency part of it, where you not only understand why they made that decision, but the process they used to get to that decision.
Do you think that should be released live for audience or just post?
Good question. Probably not live. I mean,
there's still some pressure to make that decision, right?
Yeah,
they
you
need
wouldn't be able to hear it.
Yeah.
You'd be like everybody in the thing would be like, shh, you know. but I do feel like up until they started releasing those, the referee basically gets a pass.
Right.
I mean, because there's no explanation. There's no. They may put out a statement. A lot of times they apologize, but if you can hear through what their rationale is, I think that's a new level of transparency that's needed. And it's very rare for them to release it, but I think they should make that part of it.
Yeah, I do too. My answer to your question about whether it's something that would happen during the playing it live I don't think so. But after the game, at some point, if it's requested by one or both teams, the media, if the officials organization feels it should be, if you just have one of those stakeholders in the game saying we want to hear that, they should probably do that.
Well, and what MLS tried to do this year, and it's still a work in progress once again because it's new. It's what the NFL kind of call on the field. Right, a little bit of clarity. Once the referee does leave the VAR booth, explains to the audience what's happening. One of the recommendations is to have the VAR replay also be shown publicly, even though we may not hear that conversation. But the explanation of why it was a not offsides or goal, whatever the case might be, I like that. I think it adds to the entertainment value. I think referees need to be highly trained on how to communicate. NFL referees are great, right?
Yep.
They're like, it's like they're actors in there. MLS referees are not. World referees, that's not what they want to do. So in order to do that well, there's got to be some training to that as well.
And it doesn't necessarily have to come from the referee. It can also be posted on the scoreboards, or there could be some kind of other ways to communicate that. If that's because unlike in football, where you can stop between plays and explain it. You don't want to have an extended time after you look at it, then explain it. It needs to be communicated to people watching the game, whether they're in the stadium or somewhere else.
So some of the MLS ones that I've gotten to see recently, it almost shows that they're not really sure either. They come up and say what happened, and they're like, I think this is what we're going with. It's been actually kind of humorous to see how robotic they've been because some of them don't know. I mean, they're using the best evidence that they have.
Yeah. That's horrible. That takes the air out of the wind. It's like unbelievable.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, also the amount of time that you have to wait, especially after a goal that's been given, to wait to hear that it's whether it's real or not. It's just it's a new thing, and I don't think it's all that fun.
It does take some of the steam out of a celebration or the emotion of a big moment in the match. We'll see how that all develops as the summer progresses. A cool event planned for Sunday at Lynch's Irish Pub. There will be a screening of the documentary A United Man about the life and times of Dennis Violett, a Q&A session as well. His daughter Rachel produced the documentary and spoke with her. I spoke with her about the project. And I asked her if it was difficult for her as a filmmaker to make the documentary being so close to the subject.
That's a good question. I think I started to develop it when I felt ready to do it, which was, now it's been almost 10 years ago. And I felt ready to do it, and I really wanted to do it, and I felt it was something that I've missed my father so much over the years, and I felt it was something that, in a way, kind of brought me closer to him, as I learned more and more about his life through, his teammates that he played with, his opponents, his friends, the players that he coached. So it was a really therapeutic thing for me. And I did feel ready to do it at the time. And I loved it. I loved every minute of making that movie.
The process of making it, I'm sure you learned an awful lot that you didn't know about your dad before then. Since then, in the years since, was it late 2016, I think it debuted? Since then.
Early 2017, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So since then, in the intervening time, have you learned more or different things than you did in the process of making it?
More or different things. I just would say that the response to it was kind of overwhelming. I got so many wonderful comments and feedback about people were just kind of coming out of the woodwork, especially on social media at that time. A lot of Manchester United supporters who saw my dad play would reach out, and they would send me things that he had signed and, photos that I hadn't seen before. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had known you before I was making this movie. This would have been great to put in the film. So I think it was really just the outreach of support and just lovely tributes from people. And it was great to see the club's reaction to the film. Manchester United were incredibly supportive of the film. And I'll never forget, it made me quite teary. It was during one of their matches. They have the commercial, the advertising boards around Old Trafford, and they displayed the film around there. And so I just thought my dad would have thought that was really cool to see that, an advertisement of the film. So I think it was just really just the outreach from people, and the support and everything was just wonderful.
My first interaction with your dad was when he was coaching the Cyclones here in Jacksonville, late 90s, I think. And I didn't have the perspective on the game at that point in my life as I do now. But seeing the impact that he made on soccer in Jacksonville, I mean, beyond what he did at Man U, obviously leaving a huge legacy there, but for the impact that he made on the sport in Jacksonville, it's pretty remarkable.
It is. Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. He spent the last 25 years of his life in Jacksonville. So, it was pretty remarkable. I mean, he really helped to grow the game from the grassroots level, as did a lot of the professional players that were around at the time of the T-Men days back in what was it, 1980 now? I think we're going back to 1980, 1981. And they kind of really laid the foundations for the game in Jacksonville. There's no doubt about it. And then my dad, once the T-Men folded, once the NASL folded, we opted to stay in the city. And he continued to coach, and he coached JU, and he coached a lot of high school. He was one of the first to have a soccer camp I think in the Southeast, to be honest. There weren't many around back in the 80s. So yeah, he loved that. I mean, he really loved developing the game from the grassroots level. That was something he was very passionate about, because that was something that when he was growing up as a kid, he had nothing. I mean, his family didn't have, my grandparents didn't have any money. And so any, coaches would come along and just kind of, help grow them as players. And so he was very much into helping everyone, but especially kids that didn't have a lot. I remember when he was running his soccer camp, I mean, he let a lot of kids come for free, and that didn't have the money. And it was very important to him that everybody was able to learn the game. And I think that's, to me, probably his biggest legacy in coaching.
You think about this, and the life that he led almost wouldn't be possible now, or wouldn't be practical if he had been, guys who are stars for Manchester United right now aren't probably going to be spending time with youth soccer camps as part of their legacy. I mean, maybe there are a few that would, but just from the money standpoint and the lifestyle standpoint, everything else, the timing of when he was involved in the game of soccer is pretty. I mean, it wasn't the formative stages of soccer in the world, but it certainly was in this country.
You hit the nail on the head. That is so true. And there were a lot of big names that came over to the States. My dad being one of them, one of the first actually, because he came before, the likes of George Best and those guys. I mean, my dad came in I think it was the late 60s. So, but yeah, a lot of them came over here and kind of really enjoyed the anonymity, to be honest, and enjoyed getting to know the fans and helping the game on the grassroots level. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it would be almost impossible nowadays to do that. And I think a lot of them would like to be honest. But yeah, he did. The timing was perfect for that. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the event coming up at Lynch's. What's your hope that people will take away from this when they attend?
Oh, wow. Just have a good time. I mean, honestly, that's what I can only think of what my dad would want from this. And that's just for everybody to come together. He loved that. He loved bringing people together and celebrate soccer in Jacksonville. And, it's acknowledge the past, but also it seems to be a great future that lies ahead for the game, and just enjoy each other. And, that's what he would want. And I think for anyone that hasn't seen the film, I think they'll learn, maybe a different side to my dad that they didn't know before. And I really hope that they enjoy the film and enjoy getting to know him a little bit better.
I really enjoyed talking with Rachel Violett, and obviously somebody who nobody could have put together this documentary the way that she did because of her direct relationship with the subject. But, it is a remarkable life in soccer that Dennis Violett led.
Yeah, unbelievable. And what a founding father of soccer in Jacksonville. We wouldn't have the game that we have here without pioneers like himself.
There's a chance that Mauricio wouldn't be here without Dennis Violett, considering his impact on soccer at JU and growing the game at the university level. That's what got you here to Jacksonville. So we have him to thank or blame for you.
Most likely to blame, so thank you. I'll be collecting on that later.
There's a balance. It's a balance. Yeah, there's some good.
Yeah, my son was born here, so there's something to be thankful for.
Thank goodness for that.
Definitely my better third over there. But when I got here to JU in 2014, I got introduced into that right away because Coach Violett coached at JU and at UNF. So when the two programs play against each other, we actually get to share a Dennis Violett trophy at the end, which I didn't really know much about what was going on. So I had to go and educate myself and ask some people what was going on. And what Rachel's speaking about, his legacy are the people that are still coaching in the future. And that's true. You talk to anyone that is currently like in their 40s and above coaching, mid-30s and 40s and above coaching, they've all had some kind of influence from Coach Violett when they were starting to play in the early 80s, 90s, and so forth and so on. I've spoken to several dozen people that coach with him at JU, played for him at some of those little soccer camps that she's talking about, have coached against him. So his name and his presence and his legacy is still very much alive today in 2024. So it's great that we get to celebrate him this weekend.
And I know they memorialize him at Fleming Island at the
Clay County Soccer Club.
Alliance, but I'm surprised to not see his name on more stuff. But it's good to know about maybe I'm just not paying attention enough. But it's good to know about that trophy, so that's cool.
Well, just this to give you an indication of his importance in the history of Manchester United. His ashes, or some of them, are buried under the goal at one end at Old Trafford. So
awesome.
Talk about somebody who made a major difference in one of the biggest clubs in the world, who also made a difference in the soccer culture here in Jacksonville.
Sorry to interrupt. On that subject, have you seen the movie about the plane crash, United? Yeah,
very good.
Really, it's more Jackie Charlton sort of focused, but super interesting. It's a real film, not a documentary, so it's different, but it's really interesting.
Maybe we'll do a film review as the summer goes on about some of those. That'd be good. All right, we do want to invite you to our next raft of watch parties for the Copa America at Grace Note Brewing. First three matches with the U.S. men's national team of the group stage, June the 23rd, 27th, and July 1st. Go to sportingjacks.com to register. It's free to attend. If you are a season ticket depositor, you will get buy one, get one beers, and that is more than worth it to get those delicious beers from Grace Note. So, should we talk about the Copa? Let's talk about the Copa America here, then we'll come back to the U.S. women's national team in just a minute, just because of the flow. On Saturday, the United States men will play Colombia. Next Wednesday against Brazil.
I'll be there.
You'll be there for that. It's in Orlando, right?
It is in Orlando.
And so you'll be able to put some eyes on that. And we'll look forward to getting your report next week.
Yeah, who are you rooting for?
Can I say it?
Yes.
Well, so you guys rag on me a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be rooting for Brazil.
So, by the way, do you know?
My son will not. He will be rooting for the U.S. mainly
Genetics,
because that's what I'm.
Back to balance.
But I will be.
Yeah.
I always say this when Brazil plays against U.S. and I've been to a Brazil versus U.S. game. I want Brazil to win in a very highly competitive tight game.
Right.
That's always my goal, like a 3-2 game where Brazil comes out on top.
This is the 20th matchup between the United States and Brazil in men's soccer all time.
And
do you know the record?
No. Just, how many? We must have at least 4 wins.
How many wins does the United States have against Brazil, Mauricio?
0.
The answer, my friends, is 1.
1.
1 solitary win, a 1-0 victory in, I think it was 1998, on a goal by Preki in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Everton
at the
legend.
Meadowlands.
Everton legend.
Everyone's. I've never seen so many Everton legends in my life.
He stopped by there and had a beer at the pub. How long did Preki play for Everton?
He was a couple seasons.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, he was actually really
incredible.
good
I
for
didn't know that.
Everton. Yeah, I mean, we that era, which is a lovely era of football. Really, you know, sort of the McBride, Donovan, they all played for Everton. Yeah.
So looking at the Copa America groups, the United States is in Group C with Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia. If you take the world rankings, the FIFA world rankings, and average them out in each group, the lower the average rank, the tougher the group would be, you would think. So just listen to these numbers. Argentina, Peru, Chile, and Canada in Group A average rank 31 in the world. Between those, Argentina number 1, by the way, in the world. Mexico leads Group B with Ecuador, Venezuela, and Jamaica. That's 38.5 on average score. So not bad there. Mexico is number 14 in the world. In Group D, Brazil, 5th in the world, with Colombia, 12th in the world. Paraguay, Costa Rica, average 31.25. The United States group rank, with the USA ranked 11th in the world right now in the FIFA rankings, with Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia, 92.25. By that measure, and it's not the only measure possible, but by that measure, the United States has by far the easiest group to contend with. So, what are your expectations for the United States in the Copa America?
That's a trap. That whole Bolivia's really kind of anchoring that down.
Bolivia's 85th, by the way.
Yeah,
I think U.S. is technically the highest ranked.
what's Panama then? Because it's got to be. Is this the good math?
Panama's 45.
So how could they be average 92?
Maybe I did some bad math.
Yeah,
but it's not.
be,
But it is the worst
right.
of the group.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry.
Listen, I was told there'd be no math. But point being, you've got the United States, and then Uruguay is number 15 in the world. Then it drops off pretty precipitously with 45 and 85 there. So 92 is definitely not right.
Uruguay just waxed Mexico. Like they got Bielsa. Like that I'm not saying we're in the group of death, but it's going to be. We'll be in second potentially.
Well, I think we should have a good degree of confidence that we'll get through a known rival in Panama. In
do they still have Rondon?
I don't know.
Everton legend. Sorry.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
Who does Bolivia have that play for Everton?
Joe Max Moore.
There you go. So two Everton legends against the U.S. here. I mean, there's got to be a certain degree of confidence that you get through those two. You're playing at home. Right, Bolivia,
I've redone the math, by the way. It's 39. It's still the highest.
Still the highest. Yes, still the highest. Uruguay is that game. I think the U.S. is capable in a one-off at home to come out of. Bielsa. Uruguay is flying through South American qualifiers right now, mainly because of the Bielsa effect that he has every time he enters a new team. That eventually kind of dies down. But on the national team is a little bit different because they're seeing each other. You just kind of every once in a while, but. You would come out of that group at least say, hey, we'll get to the knockout stages, minimum in second place. if you position yourself in second place, then you get in the first place somewhere else. But out of the group, there's got to be, I think even in the World Cup now, right, we have an expectation that the U.S. comes out of the group in the World Cup. Certainly in Copa America, being the host country, nothing less will be expected. My expectation for the U.S. in Copa America this year is to get to the semifinal. I think it's the wonder years. It's the kids that are playing in high-level clubs. The narrative is there, but you got to do it at some point. You can't just keep talking about what this group can be. They're in their prime. They're in the mid-20s. They got to get it done. If we have any hope and anticipation that by the time 26 comes around, we actually can be a solid team in the World Cup.
The timing of this is absolutely perfect in terms of a World Cup and sort of putting a litmus test to what the team is all about and what they have.
Yeah, I'd be a lot more confident, maybe even more excited if I could get some enthusiasm for the gaffer. But I'm just like I'm not a big
Berhalter didn't do it for you. Well, listen, I will say this: my expectation is not for them just to come out of the group, but to win the group.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't
fair.
win the group, I think that's a disappointment. That disappointment can be salvaged based on what they do if they finish second and come out and wind up advancing to the semifinals is absolutely a win. I don't think it's crazy to think that they could get to a finals, particularly if they wind up opposite Mexico in the semifinal. I mean, 2-0, here we go. I absolutely think they can beat Mexico. Can they beat Argentina, Brazil on their best days? No, but
well, that's the risk of coming in second because you're going to have to play one of those.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you win that group and then you wind up facing Mexico in a semifinal to get to a final, that could create all kinds of excitement.
Well, the interesting thing is you get Bolivia first, Panama second, Uruguay third. So by the time you play Uruguay, that should be the game that should on paper decide the group. If you both have won game 1 and 2, how do you go into the Uruguay game?
Yeah.
But Uruguay may not go with their first team. Also, if they already qualified, now it's just determining first and second. So it does put a wrench into how you manage your team at that point.
We do want to invite you to join Sporting Jacks on TV and radio. Sporting Jacks Report debuts every week at noon on Wednesdays on WJXX, ABC 25, with encore presentations over the weekend and on Comcast 201. And we have launched the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour on 1010XL, Mondays at 6 p.m. You can listen on demand on 1010XL.com and stay plugged into our social media. You can, if you miss it, you can catch those broadcasts after they air initially as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about the women's national team. I know we're going a little bit long here, but there's so much to talk about right now in the world of soccer. 4-0 over Korea on Saturday, then 3-0 on Tuesday. Tuesday star was 16-year-old Lily Johannes, who came on in the 72nd minute, made 2 good passes, one that set up a shot on target by Trinity Rodman that was saved off the crossbar, another long one to Rodman near the end line that created a chance for the U.S. Then 10 minutes after she subbed on, she scores her first goal for the United States. What a moment. She is the 8th youngest player in women's national team history to make her international debut and the 3rd youngest to score behind only Christine Lilly and Tiffany Roberts. Rose Lavelle, who earned her 100th cap, called Johannes the most mature 16-year-old she'd ever met, saying, quote, "I feel like she's more mature than me, honestly. I think she has such an incredible, bright future ahead of her, and I'm excited to see what she does with this team. I can't believe she's 16 and playing the way she is. The sky's the limit for her." High praise from one of my favorite players on that women's national team, Rose Lavelle. Thoughts on Lily Johannes, and will we see her in the Olympics for the U.S.?
Well, I think the coolest thing about this experiment, we have seen this on the guys' side globally, where players, so she was born in the U.S., moved to the Netherlands at age of 10, and she's kind of grown up there. We would have never expected a young lady growing up in Europe football system 10 years ago to come back and affect U.S. women's national team. The globalization of the game and how popular it's become in Europe, and we got to see firsthand last year when we were there. It's a really cool thing to see now basically a European-based female player coming to play for the U.S. We see that a little bit more on the guys' side. I don't think we've ever seen that on the girls' side. So I think that's a really cool thing to see, especially a 16-year-old talking about how mature she is.
Well, and the Dutch women's side is nothing to joke about
right.
either. So like,
and she's playing for Ajax.
Her choosing us is a good get.
It's interesting just watching her reaction. And once she came on, and here comes a 16-year-old, I watched her movement around the pitch. Very subtle, small, gentle movements without the ball always into a position that was really, I mean, her sense of the pitch was excellent as well.
Yeah.
You could really see that in her. And then for her to get the goal, not exactly a classic goal in terms of the way that the buildup happened, but right place at the right time and so calm to put it away. Great moment and something to look forward to with the U.S. women's national team moving forward.
Well, I mean, we have so many American-based European-based American players or just citizens of nationality, and I'm not putting anything on her shoulders by any means. She's way too young and unproven still. But what is that going to do for the next American, European-based citizen that's living there, that's grown up and go, hey, actually soccer is a goal of mine. Never thought it would be, but now it can be. So now you have this, emergence of complete new candidates that can play the game for multiple nations.
Yeah, in a way, it's a little bit backwards from the men's situation because we have so many players who have a dual citizenship or children of servicemen, whatever it might be, who could have chosen and decide. Maybe they couldn't have played for a national team in Germany or somewhere else, but decided to come and play for the United States. While this is sort of the same situation, it's different in the sense that coming to play for the United States men is a much different situation than coming to play for the United States women, who are at the top of the heap.
Sergio Dest, right? He's Dutch born and he chose the U.S. He had an option at one point in the younger qualifiers, but it's very similar to now he was born there to American parents. It's a little bit different in that, but the situation is the same. Had the option, but to your point, being called at 16 years old to play for the women's national team, U.S. women's national team, like you said, Tony, the Netherlands are, one of the top 4 teams in the world.
Well, that's the thing I think Cole was saying too, is like, where are you going to get minutes, And so she, these two are the Dutch is a little bit behind the U.S., but she had choice.
This is a strategy too, though, and this happens on World Football, and because I'm involved a little bit on the U.S. soccer scouting environment, this is a conversation and this is a strategy. She actually may not be ready to be called into the U.S. national team right now as a 16-year-old. But you cap her. Uh-huh. You bring her to an event and maybe bring her to Olympics.
Again, it was only, 28 minutes or something or half an hour in most of playing time.
But you bring her for the experience, for the camaraderie, and
But again, the way she played, there's nothing that she did on that pitch that says, she wasn't ready for this.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was an impressive debut. Yeah. Reminder, you can become a member of Sporting Jacks. It's absolutely free. Just go to sportingjacks.com. You get discounts on Sporting Jacks merchandise, invitations to VIP events, automatic chances to win prizes and experiences, and you'll receive the Sporting Jacks email newsletter. Plus, while you're there, you can place your deposit on season tickets and receive first access to seats and a limited edition Sporting Jacks founding member pin. And if you do that before the watch parties at Grace Note for the Copa America, buy one, get one free beers. That is about as good a deal as you're going to find.
You're going to make money on this.
You really are. Yeah. You will make money or save the money you would spend on beer by being a Sporting Jacks.
And we'll credit it towards your season tickets.
Anyway, all the way. All right, so there you go. Well, that was a lot to talk about. We'll have more next week, no doubt.
Any more time?
Summer of soccer. Well, I guess technically we do have more time, but I like to keep it to, we like to keep it around 20 minutes. Today we're about 33, but bear with us. It's the summertime. Maybe you have a little more time in your schedule.
Well, it's the protein from the bearded pig.
That does
it's amazing.
Yeah,
dude,
it supercharges you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Those burn ends will get you every time. All right, for Mauricio Ruiz and Tony Allegretti, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to The Sporting Pod.